Republican presidential candidate Ben Carson is taking a break from traditional public campaign events to focus on fundraising events and to promote his new book. Dr. Carson announced he'll be going on a 2-week book tour to promote his latest work, A More Perfect Union. He'll also use that time to hold some fundraisers. Now, Dr. Carson has been closing in on frontrunner Donald Trump. The latest CBS News poll has Carson trailing Trump by just 6 points. So joining us now on the phone is Doug Watts. He is Dr. Carson's communications director. Thank you very, very much for joining us, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
So let's get right into this. The focus on this book, doesn't it risk stalling some of the momentum that he has gained over the last several weeks?
No, actually, it enhances some of our momentum. But let me just clarify a couple points. There were 12 designated days in the month of October for a book tour, which is rather substantial media coverage in each of the markets that Dr. Carson does make his presentation. 6 of those days have already passed, so we're only talking about 6 more days spread over the next 2.5 weeks of the month of October. In addition to that, we've got a lot of fundraisers, and we have many public events. But I think people will find that Dr. Carson is frequently on their radio and TV over the next couple weeks, no less and perhaps more than normal.
But is he talking about the issues, or is he talking about his book?
Well, the way these interviews go is somebody asks them about the book for 15 seconds, and then they talk about the issues for the next 5 or 10 minutes, and then they usually close it with another 15 seconds about the book. So I would say about 90% of the interviews are about issues, his candidacy, his campaign.
But Doug, I got to say, a lot of people are surprised by this because typically if you are running for president of the United States, what candidates should be doing and what they typically do is they get out and they meet voters and they meet the people and they hold town hall events. So what is the strategy here?
Strategy is no different than we've employed since the beginning of the campaign on March 3rd. But I think if you take a look at the archives, you'll find that Rand Paul put a book out this year. Ted Cruz put a book out this year. Gosh, Hillary Clinton put out a book this year.
Right, but they are still campaigning. They are still going out there shaking hands and meeting voters.
As are we. This morning, Dr. Carson was in Atlanta on a retail stop at the White House, the Pancake House in Atlanta. On Monday morning, we're going to be at the Boys and Girls Club in Dallas. We have about 11 more public events scheduled just between now and the night of the debate, and then a big rally the day after the debate. So we have a very full schedule of activities. Dr. Carson pretty much campaigns 7 days a week. And that it's interspersed with some book events is not an unusual activity for us. We are off of the public circuit because of fundraising events, which we generally do not invite the press to, and then we have a variety of private political meetings as well. So it's business as usual for us. We just have an additional item packed into the trail.
But do you understand, though, that, what all the analysts, are talking about, that this is a bit unorthodox on paper? I mean, you got to kind of admit that.
No, I can't admit that because I can tell you if you look back a couple of months ago, Ted Cruz took a week for his book tour, and it's no different than what he was doing and what we were doing. I guess the only difference is we have a bestseller. It takes a lot of time. We have more events. But every day last week, Dr. Carson was on some media channel, mostly speaking about his campaign and the campaign issues. So other than the few minutes that have been assigned to either showing the book or talking about the book out front, it's really these 12 book days out of the month of October are pretty much our standard operating procedure.
So then, Doug, why do you think, and how did this get started, that word that people are now using, and I'm hearing it increasingly, that Dr. Carson is suspending the campaign for the book tour? Where did that come from?
Well, I hate to say this, but it came from an interview that I had yesterday with a young woman who was embedded in our campaign and was a little for another network, and she was a little frustrated that she hadn't been invited along for the last week because, in fact, we had a lot of fundraising meetings and private meetings, and there were 3 or 4 book tour days. She chose the word suspending. Why she grasped it, I don't know. We talked about it at length, and it's her word, not ours.
And I guess just moving on from that topic, I want to ask you really quickly, your candidate is closing in on Donald Trump. What is your longer-term strategy to perhaps even overtake him going forward?
Well, it's, a long campaign period. I'm sorry to say for the American public that they have to endure these campaigns for so long. But we've been raising a lot of money, mostly from small contributors. We have over 700,000 donations to date. We're going to have plenty of money to run our campaign as we would like to run it, all the way through the primaries to the convention. So we expect to be competing rather heavily, certainly in the first 4 states, Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and Nevada. We expect to do very well in those, and we shall see how the voters react. But we're very well prepared with a ground game, a lot of activity. We have over 2 million people signed up for the campaign to do various activities, donate or walk precincts. So we're feeling very positive about the campaign, and I think we'll close the gap even further.
All right. Doug Watts, Communication Manager for Dr. Ben Carson. Thanks for joining us.
You bet. Thank you for having me.